Have you ever stopped for a second and asked yourself, how long will you have to keep working before you can finally breathe? Before you can wake up one morning and realize you never have to check your alarm clock again? For most Canadians, that question is terrifying because they believe retirement means waiting until 65 for CPP and OAS to kick in. But what if I told you that retirement isn't about an age? It's about a mathematical truth that almost nobody uses correctly. Today, we're breaking down the 235 principle. This isn't about winning the lottery or striking oil in Alberta. It is a strategy designed to make compounding hit a point of no return in exactly 5 years. In this video, we're going to walk through the 3 stages of this blueprint. 2 years to build, 3 years to multiply, and by year 5, the explosion. We'll cover why most people quit in year 4, how to calculate your personal freedom number, and the specific Canadian tax-advantaged accounts you need to escape financial gravity. If you're ready to stop working for money and start making money work for you, hit that like button and let's get into it. The first 2 years are what I call the invisible years. This is milestone 1, the awakening. On the surface, these years look incredibly boring. Imagine you start with just $200 a month in your TFSA, investing in a broad Canadian index fund or ETF, earning 8 to 10% annually. After the first year, you might only see $150 in profit. It feels like nothing. This is where most people fail because they expect fireworks and don't see them. But here is the secret. Compounding doesn't reward you in the beginning. It tests your patience. These years are about building the roots of your forest. By the end of year 2, something subtle shifts. Your $200 deposits are no longer working alone. They're being joined by tiny fragments of profit from year 1 that are now working beside them, completely tax-free, in your TFS. This is the bridge between discipline and reward. Once you see your money making even a tiny amount of money while you sleep, your brain flips from, I hope this works, to I know this works. The goal of these 2 years isn't a massive bank account, it's an identity shift. You stop asking if you can afford to invest and start asking how you can invest more. And in Canada, that means maxing out your TFSA contribution room first. Now we enter milestone 2, acceleration. This is where your money stops walking and starts running. In years 3 and 4, you've built a small base, maybe $5,000 to $6,000 now. Every dollar your money earns becomes a tiny employee that never sleeps and works for the same rate as your initial capital. And remember, in your TFSA, every penny of growth is yours to keep. No capital gains tax. No surprises at tax time. This is the snowball effect. By year 3, your total gains in that single year can actually be larger than what you've made in the first 2 years combined. Warning. This is where the year 4 trap happens. You might check your TFSA and see $10,000 or $15,000. You might panic or think, I could use this for a down payment on a truck. If you withdraw now, it's like turning off an airplane engine while it's still on the runway. You burn all that fuel in the invisible years just to get airborne, and you quit right before the wheels leave the ground. Yes, you can recontribute the withdrawn amount next year, but you've just destroyed your compound momentum. During this stage, you must stop measuring progress by how much you've invested and start measuring by how fast your money is growing compared to your deposits. By year 4, the interest you earned can be bigger than your entire investment made in year 1. Time is now your ally. Finally, we reach milestone 3, the explosion. This is the crossover point where the system becomes self-sustaining. In physics, we call this critical mass. It's like a rocket finally escaping Earth's gravity. Once you're in orbit, you don't need the same intense effort to keep moving. In year 5, your growth over 12 months can equal or exceed everything you earned in the previous 4 years combined. This is where retirement stops being a fantasy and becomes a choice. But what does retirement actually mean here? It's hitting your freedom number. Forget the generic $1 million target. Use the 4% rule. Take your annual expenses and multiply them by 25. If you need $3,000 a month to live, or $36,000 per year, your target is $900,000. But remember, as a Canadian, you'll eventually have CPP and OAS as a safety net, which means your personal investment target can actually be lower. However, you can compress this timeline even further if you have cash-flowing assets like rental properties generating income. Just remember to factor in Canadian rental income taxes. Canadian dividend aristocrats paying eligible dividends taxed at a preferential rate, or even a side business. If a rental property brings in $1,000 a month after expenses, you now only need your investments to cover $2,000. That drops your freedom number significantly. At this stage, work becomes optional. You aren't just retired, you are liberated. To make this happen in just 5 years, you can't just save. You have to be strategic with Canadian tax advantages. First, maximize your income. You are on a tight timeline, so focus on growing your income aggressively through side hustles. Content creation like a YouTube channel or job hopping to increase your salary fast. Every extra dollar can go into tax-advantaged accounts. Second, the tax-advantaged account strategy. Start with your TFSA, max it out every year. For 2025, if you've never contributed and were 18 in 2009, you have over $95,000 in total contribution room. Every dollar of growth is tax-free forever. Once your TFSA is maxed, use your RRSP. Contributions reduce your taxable income today, which is especially powerful if you're in a higher tax bracket. Just remember, you'll pay tax when you withdraw in retirement. If you're self-employed, consider an individual pension plan, IPP, for even larger tax-deferred contributions. Third, the portfolio structure. For a 5-year goal, many Canadian investors suggest 60 to 70% in broad market ETFs like VEQT, XEQT, or VFVS and P500, 15 to 25% in Canadian dividend, aristocrats, banks, utilities, telecoms with eligible dividends, 10 to 15% in more aggressive growth like tech AI or sector-specific ETFs, and 5% in alternatives like REITs, especially Canadian REITs, in your TFSA for tax-free distributions. Fourth, leverage the Canadian dividend tax credit. When held in non-registered accounts, eligible Canadian dividends are taxed much more favorably than interest income. Use this to your advantage. Finally, if you are over 50, you don't get catch-up contributions like Americans, but you do accumulate unused RRSP room from previous years. If you haven't been maxing out, you can make large lump sum contributions now to supercharge your tax deferrals. The 235 principle works because it mirrors how real wealth is created: foundation, acceleration, and explosion. The hardest part isn't the math, it's the loyalty to the system. It's staying consistent in the invisible years when everyone else is financing new trucks and toys. Ask yourself, where do you want to be 5 years from today? Still waking up to that same alarm, or standing at a point where your time finally belongs to you? Maybe even early enough to enjoy those Canadian summers without taking vacation days. The sooner you begin, the sooner your explosion builds. Don't wait for a miracle. Use the formula. Use the tax advantages Canada gives you. If you want more deep dives into these strategies, subscribe to the channel and check out my other videos on TFSA strategies, Canadian dividend investing, and RRSP versus TFSA decision-making. Disclaimer: I am not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research and consult with a qualified Canadian financial professional. I'll see you in 5 years, or better yet, in the next video.